All right, so you dove in the 2015 World University Games in Korea, correct?
I did indeed. Yep.
All right, so what do you remember most about your World University Games experience?
What do I remember most? The probably the village. Like, I mean, there were so many memorable things. I guess starting with the pool. The pool was world class, like brand new, built specifically for the event. So that was just like world class diving facility. It was the biggest pool I've ever seen. It was probably like three times the size of like it was like double the size of like the Georgia Tech pool somehow for some reason.
Like what?
So that was amazing. Yeah, it was nuts. It was super long, but it wasn't like Olympic swim length either. So I didn't know what they were doing. But so like they just really showed out for the event, and also the village, like we got to live with, however many countries were competing there. I think like over 200 or 300 countries. All the facts, don't quote me on anything. I don't know what, but I know it's the second biggest multi-sport competition next to the Olympics, and so kind of having a whole world community that you were living with. We had one skinny tower that was our Team USA tower. Russia had another tower. Some of the smaller countries, shared a tower, but it's just really cool. And we all ate in the same dining hall. So just being a part of that was super, super cool.
Yeah. So what was it like getting to represent the US on a large scale like the World University Games?
Yeah. I mean, it's the dream of every kid, I feel like. I mean, especially for me, growing up diving. It was my second time on the world stage. I'd been to Australia for Junior Worlds in 2012 before that. And so getting to go to this stage, but this was at a senior level competition. And so got to compete against some of the guys that saw in the 2016 Olympics and, are still shooting for 2020. So really like world class stage. And I mean, competing with a Team USA that wasn't just diving, it was multi-sport. So like we did the whole walkout opening ceremony and like did a lap on the track, and there was 35,000 people and they did a full opening ceremony performance, and it was unbelievable. Like people chanting USA, like seeing it in the lights going as we walked. Everyone's got their phones out. It's silly. It's so cool.
I bet. I like that slight flex there of, I competed internationally before that.
It was yeah, I mean, when I think about my diving career, those two meets are the top, like the pinnacles of what I got to. Olympic trials is up there too, but
Yeah.
the two times I got to compete with Team USA was like, highlights my career.
Oh, for sure. So competing like at a large event, international event like the World University Games, did that make you a better competitor like overall?
I was pretty senior in my diving career, so I was 21 at the time. I dove till I was 22. So with regard to, my composure in competition, I feel like, maybe not too much change, but it was definitely the highest level of competition that I got to go up against. So seeing like who my competitors were, how they practiced, like really getting myself and feeling a part of that level of competition, yeah, I would say it gave me kind of the confidence I needed to really agree with myself that I could compete at that level. So yeah, I mean, it was huge for my career.
No, bet. So obviously you're aware of like the large university presence that the Triangle has with, Duke, UNC State, and all the other smaller colleges around here. So what are your thoughts on UNC and these other universities as hosts for the World University Games?
Yeah, that sounds like a sweet idea. I mean, when I only went to one, and it was in Korea, and they had built a whole new they'd built a new pool. They'd built a whole like a bunch of full stadiums for it. Which I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, we have some of the best facilities in the world, like you said, right here in the Triangle area. And especially with it being World University Games and the US having such an interesting um, and amazing university slash sports scene, I think that'd be kind of a really cool experience for the whole world to see, just how big athletics are in the US that we can utilize, within what 8 miles is UNC to Duke or something like that. So, them to be able to see amazing facilities and just a quick bus ride would be awesome.
Yeah. So, in your perspective, what positive impact should we expect if the Triangle was selected to host the 2027 World University Games?
Yeah, I mean, it would put it on the map for a lot of people who, the Triangle's relatively popular in the US. I mean, I'm from Georgia. I've heard of it. I can't speak for many Americans. It depends on your discipline. If you're a science person, you've definitely heard of it. But I mean, it's opening it up to the world, and the world community would be very, very unique. It kind of share what's special about it. So I mean, I think only positives would come out of something like that.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, what makes for the best athlete experience at a large event like the World University Games?
Sure. The village, I think, was what made it, like, all being able to share the experience, because that's really what, like, the sports are about. It's like, a very, very peaceful way for nations to come together and, like, celebrate similarities and differences. And so being able to immerse everyone in the same place, and sharing the dining hall, sharing events that they put on, public events for when you're not competing, you can go hang out. Like, one thing that stood out to me was this event they did where you went and you traded, like, your gear with someone else. So you, like, found a partner, and then they made it a big event. So you would go and you'd take a picture, and it was kind of this, like, peace event, of, like, I traded with some Algerian guy. He was actually a really goofy guy. He traded me his pants, and he took his pants off when he did it, and I traded him my shirt. And so it was kind of really silly, but really cool that they would do something like that. And you get this picture of me, an Algerian guy who, he could barely speak English. I definitely couldn't speak French. So just like unique experiences like that I'll never forget.
Yeah. So, is there any advice you would give the NC Big Committee that might help them be selected as the hosts?
Hmm, good question. Let me think real quick.
So, like anything that you saw at your World University Games that you think that we need to do better to make it a better experience for the athletes and everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job in 2015. Like, I definitely wouldn't say there's anything to complain about. Like, they had, their own mascot and stuff. Like, I think it was Nairobi or something like that. But anyways, they had a mascot, that would walk around. They had, like, really good security. They had really, like, nice passes, and they had events every day. And they had Korean specialty in the dining hall, but then they also had something a little bit more plain for the whole world. So, I mean, there's definitely things to check off the list, but also definitely look for things about the RTC, about North Carolina, that are unique, and try to flex those muscles, because that's people are excited they'd be excited to come to North Carolina to see this part of the world, because it's unique and different from where they're from. So doing whatever you can to make this part of the world special, whatever that may be, I would say try to do that.
Yeah. All right. Last question here.
Nice.
Is there any advice you would give a young athlete who is aspiring to make a represent their home country at a large event like the World University Games?
Oh yeah, I mean, love the grind. Every little effort you put in is gonna contribute to that end goal. Whether it's stretching, touching your toes for 30 seconds at night before you go to sleep, whether it's waking up like 15 minutes earlier. It's like it's all those little efforts, and then when it comes time to fight time, when you're actually fighting for your spot, you put in all that effort, and then the rest that comes out in competition is just the byproduct. So the work's been completed on the front end. So just work hard and love it. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.